Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Intel Extreme Masters San Jose. I'm Maddles, and we're going in to the final quarterfinal game of this tournament. It has begun, so let's dive straight into this and see how things are, of course, going. We have got two astoundingly good players battling it out for us here. Overgrowth will be the first map, and spawning to the top right, we've got the blue Zerg representing CM Storm. It's Revival. And his opponent to the lower left, the red Terran, it is Bomber. So a nice little bit of Zerg versus Terran to end off the B stream. This will be the final series cast on the B stream, but the main stream will be covering the other two quarterfinals, the semifinals, and of course the grand finals all this evening, live from the stadium at San Jose. So a lot on the line for these players, battling it out in a best of 5 here. In order to make it through to this stage, they, of course, had to come through the groups yesterday, and they were some pretty tough groups. Revival was in a Group B along with First, Polt, and Jadong. Revival was able to take it nice and cleanly, though. He went 2-1 over First, and then 2-1 over Polt to take the winner's game and get through top of his group. Bomber had a bit more of a tough run. He was in a group with Hero, Super, and QXC. He was able to 2-0 QXC, but then Hero 2-0'd Bomber, and so Bomber was able to finish it off with a 2-1 over Super in order to get that second spot in the group. The winner of this, of course, will be facing off against Rain in the semi-final after his ability to defeat 4GG in the first quarterfinal game that we saw on this stream last. So, in terms of openings at the moment, we've just got the 1 Rax into the command center coming down here from Bomber. No Reaper or anything like that. Meanwhile, up from Revival, he got quite a nice early gas down. He's got the spawning pool coming and the hatchery there as well. So, he is just playing things nice and safe and steady. It was a hatch first into the gas into the pool. So, yeah, looking solid. Early speed, nice bit of map control here coming down from Revival. Now, according to the stats, these two, when you plug them in, does actually give Bomber quite a large advantage overall. His current form against Zerg is very, very good. His current win rate is really good. Although, historically speaking, neither of these two players have met for a long time. Their last tournament game that they played, or broadcast series, was actually back in 2012. So, I'm excited to see what these two are going to be able to do. But Bomber, for me, going into this, really is the favorite. We'd love to know what you think's going to be happening. Are you rooting for Revival or Bomber? Hashtag IEM on Twitter. Join the conversation there and let us know what you think. So, we do actually have a very bold move coming down here from Bomber. He's got a 3rd command center already on its way. So this is a very greedy opening coming down from the Terran player. Revival, for now at least, hasn't been able to scout the 3rd CC. He does know about the natural base coming down nice and early. So yeah, all looking good there. It's going to be really interesting to see how Revival decides to respond to the fact that there is this 3rd command center just so quickly coming on down. So the big thing that Bomber's cut to get that 3rd CC was his gases a lot later, so he doesn't really have any tech out as of yet. Just a couple of Marines that are being positioned in a way that they could force back any Overlords that were coming to try and get a scout down. So this is nice moves all in all by Bomber, who, while he's not in a fantastic spot right now, he's in a very good economic spot long term. So in the mid and late game, if he can last it out to there, he's going to be in a strong position. Revival, though, he's also going to be going up to that 3rd base nice and quickly. Just got that drone backing and forward until he hits the 300 minutes. So there we go, that's on its way. Meanwhile, this is just going to be a very passive early game from both sides. No big rushes being taken, no emergency procedures coming on down. We do already have speed, obviously, here for Revival, so that's giving him a good amount of map control, although his vision is somewhat limited. He doesn't see anything too crazy going on quite yet, and as a result, he's just going to be going nice and steady. Trying to run these few speedlings through. Going to see a good number of Marines here, but not much else. He, of course, trying to get that Overlord through as well. And due to the fact the Marines came down in order to defend against those speedlings, this Overlord could very well sneak on by and get a good little bit of vision. But right on cue, Bomber already repositioning these Marines back. That Overlord will get taken down. And all in all, Bomber is just playing this fantastically in terms of defending against this scouting, denying the vision of that 3rd CC, which really is the underpinning of his entire build this game. It's not going to get scouted, a couple of Hellions seen, but that is all. More importantly, this second factory isn't going to get spotted, so we should be seeing Blue Flame come down from this almost certainly. Wouldn't be at all surprised to see an Armory as well, so this Blue Flame follow-up is going to be very, very... Actually, no, it's not going to be Blue Flame. It could just be pure mech. No, okay, there we go. Blue Flame is coming down. It's just the tank on its way. I panicked for a second there, but it's all good. These Hellions just poking and prodding, being a little bit annoying. Meanwhile, the Baneling Nest coming on through for Revival. He's got his third hatch on its way, of course, and he's just busy, just chilling, doing normal Zerg things, droning a lot. Good scan coming down there from Bomber. He sees that, obviously, there is the second gas there. Gets a good little look at anything coming out. Sees the double Evo chambers, but no Roach Warren. So he's going to be pretty confident that he's not going to get killed imminently, which is good news for him. He's also going to be quite happy not to see a Roach Warren in the front here, knowing that his Hellions may be able to get a lot more success, especially factoring in that they're going to have the Blue Flame upgrade, which is already over half done now, so going to be hitting the mark pretty soon, about 55 seconds before that's active, and the Hellion count is going to get pretty scary, and most of them being hidden. Bear in mind that Revival, he really doesn't see any of this. He's just seen the one factory. He has no clue about the third CC that's already floating on down. Doesn't hold the watchtower. Bomber's taking control of that. So really, Revival is playing with a big lack of information for the time being. What he does have is Banelings. And Giant Balls of Acid is something that is definitely very useful if you're playing up against something unexpected. And if he's able to get those to connect onto the Hellions, that's going to shut things down well. But for the moment at least, these Hellions pushing forward. Blue Flame was just revealed then. A lot of these Hellions coming on through. The Baneling's going to be trying to get some connections. Good surround with these Speedlings on creep. Will track a lot of the Hellions. Banelings as well getting some great connections. And Revival, brilliant hold there, is able to fend off all of the damage from those Blue Flame Hellions. And there is just nothing that Revival is really going to take in terms of damage there. He just shuts it down. Great surrounds. And as a result, Bomber has been thwarted in his plan. But that wasn't really the key aim. The Blue Flame Hellion build was to get some damage if possible. This third base was his big target. And he's got that. It hasn't been seen yet, now discovered, and just the volume of units for Revival could be about to cause Bomber some problems. The Banelings coming across are going to be a bit of a pain. These Blue Flame Hellions trying to do as much work as they can. Oh, the bunker did finish up, but no units getting in there in time. The Banelings now waddling forward. They're going to be trying to connect with the SCVs. The clump up on top of them, a bit of a mismove, trying to get them to safety. And as a result, Bomber takes 9 SCVs worth of damage. These 2 mules are also going to get taken down. His wall-off is completed, but still, there's a lot of Zerglings here. The Blue Flame has done 14 workers. Of course, have been taken out as well. Behind this, Revival, he's just busy getting down his Rotron. His Spire's nearly finished. And he's going to be sitting there as a very happy Zerg because he completely shut down the Blue Flame Hellions. He's shut down the third base and most of the advantage got from that. And he's now sitting there and being like, well, everything's coming up for the Swarm right now. This is exactly how I'd like these games to go. Just shutting down everything the Bomber could possibly be doing. So, Spire, the +1 air attack being researched. Mutalisks are going to be hitting the field shortly. The third orbital command is now back down, and Bomber is adding in a lot more barracks, so he's going to be pumping out a decent chunk of infantry. He does have Stim, no combat shield yet. That's still a fair way off, but is in production. Meanwhile, at the back, of course, we've got this debris getting taken out, the gold base being achieved by Revival. So he's just really staying on mark, and his creep spread is going absolutely fantastic. This is just doing so well. This creep spread has covered pretty much half of the map. But Hellbats are now on the field. That's scary times. The Marines, though, aren't going to be integral to trying to stop these Mutalisks from just really raining down bouncing glaives of doom onto all of these Hellbats. So that's going to be quite important here for Bomber. He's got some good spread on these units. He's staying back defensively. Work count-wise, 77 drones up against 49 SCVs. But those mules will start leveling things out quite nicely. Bomber moving on forward. He's going to try and get a bit aggressive right now. The Mutalisk count isn't that high. Only 9 of them up against 32 Marines with the +1 attack. In come the Hellbats. They're going to be standing at the front trying to soak up some of those Baneling hits. Able to pick up some of them. The rest being focused by Bomber very nicely. He shuts down a lot of that. Has Revival droned a bit too hard. He's going to lose this 4th base almost definitely. A few of these Banelings rolling away, getting out of range of those Hellbats. But all in all, Bomber's split very nicely here. For now, he should be able to take down this 4th base with relative ease. And that was a nice trade for Bomber. Just catching Revival a bit off guard. He didn't have enough down on the field at the moment. But Revival coming around from behind is going to be able to pick up some of those reinforcements. But still this push for Bomber moving on forward. Additional Banelings morphing in. 10 more joining, taking 20 in total. But this push is starting to lose a bit of momentum. The Hellbats are still there, dealing some alright damage, but there's just too much stuff here. The +1 air weapons is also now kicking in. The +1, 2 upgrades on the ground for Revival. Bomber, he's setting a 1-1. He's got 2-2 on its way nicely, and he's also just got level 1 ship plating that's going to really help those Hellbats soak up a bit more of the damage. But yes, this is a pretty funky game. Bomber, taking out that 4th, does keep the base count level, which is of course good for a Terran player up against Zerg, so that's looking positive for him. He was also able to pick apart a couple of the Mutalisks, keeping that count a little bit lower, but also forcing a lot of gas into Banelings, which is going to limit the Mutalisk count even further. So that's really, really nice. Otherwise, still just a steady move around at the moment. Bomber moving out across the map, and this creep spread is really acting as such an early warning device for Revival, and it's allowing these army movements to pick off the odd Marine here and there, which is always going to be very, very strong. The Hellbats need to try and dish up against these. The Banelings, meanwhile, coming in from the north. They're going to try and get some good connections, able to pick off a couple of units there, but Bomber getting quite a large mass of units. He's able to over double the army supply of Revival at the moment, and critically took out all the Banelings. He's pulling back, allowing these medevacs to heal on up, but just waiting steadily to see what Revival is going to be able to do. He needs this 4th base up, but Bomber is getting great massive units, picks off a couple more Mutalisks. That's always going to be important for him. And if we look at overall workers killed, Revival has killed 14, but that was the original 14 from the Banelings that came into the 3rd base. Bomber is in a very, very nice position here, up a lot in supply. Upgrade-wise, he's also level, which is clearly going to be beneficial for him as well. And just his composition is very, very strong at the moment. As he moves up towards this 3rd, Revival is frantically trying to get some units together, but looking at the supplies, 122 army supply to 61, it's going to be a big ask for Revival to hold here. He's rolling in with these Banelings, trying to get some good connections on those Marines, but they're pretty nicely spread, and this isn't even the bulk of the army. The rest of it just following up. That was just the initial move forward. A lot of those Banelings already get taken down, more trying to morph on in. There's 14 on the field at the moment, but the Marauders and Hellbats lining the front. They're getting some good hits off. The Banelings not able to connect with the Marines that they are so aiming to do. And that means these Mutalisks don't really have much more work that they're able to do, with so many Marines able to pick them off if anything else came on forward. More Baneling hits are rolling on forward, and they're actually getting some good connections, but still Bomber is up at over double the army supply of his opponent, pushing in towards this 3rd with the Marauders is getting just so much damage down, and if this hatchery falls, it's bad times for Revival as he loses those Mutalisks. This is looking disastrous for the Zerg player, and Bomber just relentlessly pushing forward. There's the train of units reinforcing across, and there we have it. Game number 1 goes to Bomber. Despite that early bit of aggression coming through from Revival, Bomber just had such on-point macro, that Hellbat Marine composition, and he dealt with the Baneling play just oh so well. And that means he gets an early 1-game advantage here in this series. So really nice work coming down there by Bomber so far. It's going to be interesting to see what he does in this 2nd game, because that was obviously a very greedy play, the 3 command centers early on, and he didn't even have the best start. If you look at those Blue Flame Hellions, kind of the key early push for Bomber, they got shut down so effectively. The Baneling connections were fantastic, the Zergling surround was amazing, Revival took no damage and actually countered very effectively. So if that was Bomber coming back from not a great start, what is he going to be able to do if he gets an opening to his terms? Well, that's what we're going to be seeing on this next map. Catalina going to be coming up here. Of course, game number 2. This is Intel Extreme Masters San Jose. It is the 4th quarterfinal. The winner of this goes on to face Rain in the semi-final. That will be broadcast on the main stream. This is the final series coming on Stream B for this event, so I hope you are enjoying. Of course, we'd love to know your thoughts of what you think of the game so far. Who do you reckon is going to be able to get crowned champion here at Intel Extreme Masters? Hashtag IEM, join the conversation on Twitter. But right now, we are loading in to map number 2 of this best of 5, and we have Catalina as the host of it. Spawning down in the bottom right-hand position, we've got the red Terran player currently up a game in this best of 5. It is Bomber. And up to the top left, the blue Zerg representing CM Storm. It is Revival. So what can Revival do here? Well, he needs to really find a way to get that momentum that he gained in game number 1 in the early stages and actually pull it through in the mid and late stages to have some success, because Bomber, as I mentioned before this game got started up, wasn't really in the greatest position after game number 1. Let's face it, it was just a little bit awkward for him. It wasn't a nice situation. He lost all of those Blue Flame Hellions. And then the counter-attack killed off 14 SCVs. Not really what you'd sit there and say is a good start. But after that, Bomber just kept on trucking. He just kept on pushing forward, had a decent amount of momentum, and really just overpowered Revival. He just couldn't ever get a nice position off the back of that and deal with that wave after wave of pushing from Bomber. This game, Bomber is going very, very similar. He's just going for that barracks first. Meanwhile, Revival has gone for the spawning pool first. This was a 15 pool, so it's not super early or anything like that. Just biding his time, making sure that he is going to be safe in case there was aggression coming from the Terran player. He wants to be safe and steady. He's down a game after all. But being down one game is in no way the end of the world because, hey, it's a best of 5. Game number 1, yes, there's a small psychological edge of winning that. Yes, it means that you've got slightly less breathing room. But more importantly, it's not all over if you lose this next game. You've got that space to breathe. You've got a chance to still go for a little bit of an experiment without your tournament life being on the line. Now, take a look here. Natural base coming down from Bomber. For the time being, at least, he's going for an identical build to game number 1. And I can't really blame him because game 1, he was very greedy in terms of his macro, in terms of getting those 3 command centers up incredibly quickly. And he didn't die. He did not die despite having a very, very rough position off that. So if he's able to hold it in game number 1, in theory that was not the worst that it could have been for him, but it certainly wasn't a good way to start it out in terms of what Revival did up against it. So if he was able to make it work there, maybe in game number 2, if he's a little bit more careful with those Hellions, if he goes for that same follow-up, perhaps then he'll be able to get even more of a good mid-game position. For the moment though, he is going to be going for exactly the same as he did last game. That 3rd command center is getting started up right on cue, so Bomber playing this very economically focused. Revival, on the other hand, he's gone very similar still. He's got that Zerging speed coming on through. His natural base is now finished, but he doesn't have much in the way of information. This one Overlord is the only one waiting there. In theory, it could come on over and try and get a scout off, but if we see anything like we did in game number 1, I would not be at all surprised to see Bomber position his Marines adequately in order to deny this scout as much as possible. Because the element of surprise, or rather not being able to see that command center, is paramount for Bomber to be able to stay safe. Because if Revival saw that very early third CC, he could then either apply a lot of pressure or get even more greedy himself in order to keep up economically. But as it stands, that's not where he is. Bomber is now adding in his factory, so he's going pretty much the same build as we saw before. There's the reactor coming on down. He's got a fair few Marines, just actually 4 of them waiting at the moment. Going to be trying to deny some scouting. 1 SCV coming up to check because Bomber hasn't actually got any information about where his opponent is yet. He's not scouting. He's going this completely blindly. Revival is going to be going to take his 3rd base now. So this is normal timing, 6 minutes, but a lot behind the 3rd of Bomber. But Bomber's being very greedy, as I said. This Overlord's still waiting. Knows that it's not probably going to be able to get across anywhere, the bunker, which is irritating. The Marines still just waiting about here. They're just making sure that no Overlords can come sneaking on through. And again, this is just good denial of scouting, good denial of information to Revival, and Bomber's playing solid. Meanwhile, over at Revival's side, obviously that 3rd hatch is coming on through. He's still mining just off of the 1 gas, although a second one of the natural is being taken. Bomber hasn't expended a scan quite yet in order to get information on his opponent, and hasn't even actually come over to scout, so he has no idea what his opponent's doing in the slightest. He's just happy chilling here. But just as we saw last game, we're going to be probably getting those blue flame Hellions yet again. We've got the tech lab there, the factory coming on through, so the switch around should come down. But again, just as in a mirror of game number 1, we've got the Baneling Nest coming out from Revival. His creep spread is also going solid, and I attribute much of Revival's ability to deflect that initial Blue Flame Hellion play in game number 1 to these creep tumors coming out so early and getting that creep spread going a long way forward, allowing the Speedlings to get that good surround. So, keeping a good check on what these guys are doing. We do have the 1 siege tank coming out, and that's actually rather important because it means that you're going to be able to deflect off any big move-ins. But this Overlord, being a bit of a hero, scouts that 3rd CC, although it's not a massively early scout. He just sees it, and more importantly, he doesn't really see anything in the way of what tech is coming on down. He hasn't seen any of the Hellions. He knows there's 1 factory, but let's face it, that's not crazy. So, What does Revival do? He's got Maulings coming on down. He may suspect that it's the Blue Flame Hellions again. It's certainly viable considering everything else of this build is pretty much identical to what we saw before. Bear in mind that one tank did come out as in game number 1 as well, so it's not like this is a different build in any way. The double engineering bay as well coming on through, showing that it's unlikely to be a mech style play, and these additional barracks confirm that. Instead, it's likely just to be going into that Hellbat Marine style that we saw in game number 1. Creep spread still coming out nicely. These Hellions going to be sneaking on forward, but they're going to get detected just so early. The Queens could be running into a little bit of problems, but the Hellions, they don't really care. They're ignoring that, but coming on to creep once more, and there's a lot of Lings still here. They're trying to find another avenue to attack, and this is a little bit safer, but Bomber's going to see a lot of those Zerglings. He's going to be really trying to avoid getting surrounded like he did in that first game, and so far so good. These Hellions, they're not dead yet, and if we look back to game number 1, they were already a pile of parts on the floor by this stage. So things going better than they are in game number 1 for Bomber already. Revival having to pump out a lot of units to try and fend this off, morphing in a lot of Banelings. His creep spread being forced off as well, and a couple of Queens going to get taken down here. No Hellions actually die in exchange for that, so that was good micro coming down from 4GG. Otherwise, we do have the 1-1 upgrade on its way for Revival, so he is going to take a small upgrade lead over 4GG, who is about kind of 45 seconds behind in terms of those upgrades. Hellions, though, are standing pretty still. They need to get out of those Baneling shots. The Zerglings trying to get a good surround on them. A quick starter step will get a relatively nice trade, actually, for Bomber overall. He picks off a lot of those Zerglings in exchange for not many Hellions. This is a bit of a problem for Revival. The Banelings don't have speed, so they're not going to be able to escape away. That's not even started yet, but the 1-1 upgrade is now finished. Bomber is doing an amazing job at just deflecting off a lot of this. Nice little control there, actually focusing one of his own Hellions in order to get the splash damage down onto those creep tumors. So Bomber at the moment just doing a fantastic job in this game. He hasn't lost all of those Hellions. Behind this, he does not... Actually, no, he does have the armory, so he can start morphing in some Hellbats. He's also going to be pumping out a good number of Marines. His Marine count is only at 8 currently, but that should be ramping up in the very near future in order to deal with any Mutalisks that could be coming. And of course, with the Spire here, that's exactly what Revival is going to be gunning for. No drone damage has been done yet, so 70 workers are still out for Revival, who has got his 4th base on its way, but this is up against 63 SCVs. And if you refer back to game number 1, what we should be seeing is, or game number 1, what we did see was Revival come in and get 14 SCV kills in a denial of this 3rd for a while. Bomber this game doesn't have to worry about that because he kept the Hellions alive, and that means that his Hellbat follow-up is a lot stronger because there's just so many more of them already on the field. Marine production is really ramping up as we've got 8 Marines coming through at a time now, so just as expected, the timing on this is right ready to deal with any Mutalisks that Revival could be getting on out. And Bomber, he's up in supply at the moment. He's in quite a comfortable spot. The only thing he hasn't seen is the 4th base, although he probably suspects that it's coming there. Now, creep spread is the other big thing the Revival had really going for him in game number 1, but again, because Bomber is able to keep the Hellions alive, he forced back those creep tumors for quite a while. So that's another little win for Bomber. As he's making his way across the map now, this push is monstrously more powerful than it was in game number 1. Waiting to see now if Revival's got any information about this. He's coming in from the side, and he sees the army because of the creep spread. Positioning here is going to be key. How many Banelings do we have? 28. So Revival needs to get some good connections. The Marine count not actually that high. 45 are on the field in total, but a lot are actually still coming across the map. With this main army, there aren't actually too many. Only actually 14 here at the moment. So that means the Mutalisks could be a little bit annoying, but once these reinforcements come across, that's going to be very, very irritating. Posturing still coming on by. A couple of Marines need to be very careful not to get caught by those Banelings. And this is actually forcing a bit of an engagement. Up to the high ground, these Banelings trying to close on up the distance. But on the low ground, they're actually getting the connections. But is it enough? A lot of Banelings went down there. And not really too much of Bomber's army started to die. He's up not quite double the army supply of his opponent, but nearly there. Up by a good 56 army supply at the moment, which is actually very substantial. Upgrades as well at a level 2-2 on both sides, and the +1 armor plating for those Hellbats is going to really aid in them soaking up some more of that damage. Again, Revival trying to push on down here. He's trying to get those Baneling connections. For the moment, they're not able to connect. The Hellbat's just kiting on backwards, trying to get some good damage down on those Banelings, and is able to achieve that. This is not looking good for Revival. Bomber reinforcing across more. He's got his 4th command center nearly finished up, but the 4th hatch for Revival is still alive. Bomber has not taken that down yet. And that's where there is still the vestige of hope for Revival. Even though he's trading not very cost effectively, he still has a good economy behind this, so he can afford to keep this up for the moment. But if he allows Bomber to get this critical mass of units up and loses a lot of the Banelings without getting much work done, that's where problems can start occurring. The 4th base now going to be floating on over here. This was actually the 5th. I take it back. I said it was a 4th earlier. For Bomber. A little bit of counter damage actually coming on through, and this is a lot of Zerglings coming across. It does get seen, but there's a tank there. However, this means that the army of Revival now quite a long way out of position in order to try and deflect this. Bomber is extremely spread out. He's just moving on up, trying to get a little bit damage done onto this 3rd base. Having to pull back though, because Revival's going for this. He's trying to get the damage down on those orbital commands. A lot of those Banelings getting clumped up. Bomber frantically trying to micro away from those Banelings, avoid the hits coming down if at all possible. Whereas Bomber hasn't really been able to do too much damage across the map, but is now coming back. Of course, the advantage for him is he's got this 4th base up. He's got a 5th orbital command. He can happily mule very heavily and is still trying to apply some more pressure. 44 Marines are going up against only 11 Mutalisks, so the Banelings really need to get some effective shots down if possible, but the army for Revival is still looking quite substantially smaller. Under half the supply of that of Bomber, who's moving in, will be able to take down that 3rd hatchery, and that is a devastating blow. These Banelings attempting to counterattack, going straight up against a lot of Marauders and Hellbats, so not trading efficiently in the slightest. And now Bomber just edging on in towards this 4th base. If that goes down while Bomber's on 4 bases himself, a 2-base advantage is likely to be insurmountable for Revival to make his way back into this game. It gets taken down. His production is now really hurt. He does have the macro hatch to allow him to pump out a bit more, but even though he's got a decent bank, the economy's just not going to be there. Bomber, he may end up losing this 3rd. No, he's not even going to. The repair comes down. GG. Bomber takes a 2-game advantage in this best-of-5 quarterfinal, putting Revival onto match point. The same style being played by Bomber in game number 1 and 2. Game number 1, a little bit of miscontrol on the Hellions early on, and the surround from Revival meant that it was a bit bumpy. Game number 2 looked a lot smoother though. What's going to come down in game number 3, we'll find out after a quick break. Love to know your thoughts. Is Revival going to be able to make a comeback, or is Bomber going to take it 3-0? Hashtag IEM on Twitter. And we'll be back in a couple of minutes with game number 3. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Maddles, and this is Intel Extreme Masters San Jose. We're going in to the 3rd game of this 2nd quarter final, and things are starting to look very, very tough because it is match point already as we go into this 3rd game, and what could be a 3-0 maybe on the cards. We are in game though, so let's jump straight to this, and we'll see just how this plays out. It's going to be on King Sejong Station, and spawning to the top left, we have got the blue Terran. It is Bomber. And his opponent down to the bottom right. In a pretty interesting little mix-up here. I don't know if I can actually ask for a remake because there's quite a bad bug here in terms of the vision. So I'm going to check to see if that can actually be done. So apologies for that. Unfortunately, there's nothing I can do about getting that fixed. I'm hoping that one of the admins is in here. Otherwise, we may just have to go for this and get it going. I do hope that the admin is still here and has got referee privileges, but it looks like no. We'll carry on casting. There is a small little issue with a graphical bug with the observer interface, so apologies for that. It's going to just go over the production marks, but yeah, this is going to be it's 2-0 up at the moment for our Terran player here, so that is some very, very good news for Bomber. If he wins this game, he advances into the semi-finals. But if Revival starts coming back, that'd be obviously a big win for him. He's opened up Hatch first this game, so he's switching things around. Bomber, however, is going exactly the same as he's done in every other game so far. No gas, just that barracks coming on down. Sending out SCV Scout nice and early, so going to be keeping a good little look at everything that's coming here. And, well, just waiting to see what gets seen. Spawning pool is on its way now. Meanwhile, Bomber just opening exactly the same. I would not be at all surprised to see actually Bomber go for that 3cc build yet again, because it's worked just so ridiculously well. So it looked like the admin has realized what's going on. I'm not sure if we are going to remake due to this small little graphic error, but hopefully we will be going pretty soon. Okay, apparently we are going to rehost this. So, looks like we will be going into this. I'm just trying to reiterate to the admins. We should just restart from replay. So everything should get started up exactly the same. I'm hoping when we restart from replay that there isn't going to be an error there as well. But we're going to check it to a quick break while we try and sort out these issues. So stay tuned, and we should have the next game coming up shortly. See you in a couple of minutes. Welcome back everyone, and we are here at Intel Extreme Masters San Jose. We have resumed the game, so we should be good to go here. A quick recap, we are 3.5 minutes into the game. Bomber again went for a CC after the barracks. Meanwhile, Revival went for a hatch first. It's 2-0 up for Bomber. If he wins this, he advances into the semi-finals, and Revival is now playing to stay within this tournament. Very, very stressful times. So, what are they going to be doing? Well, Bomber is now switching this up. For the first time this series, he's got a gas before his third command center. Actually, 2 gases. He's getting a lot of gas down right now. But otherwise, he's keeping things looking very similar as far as the Overlord's concerned. The Overlord sees 1 CC, sees a bunker coming down, and he's going to be saying maybe like, ah, I know what you're doing. You've done this 2 times before. You're going for a quick third command center. But he's not. Nor though is Revival, as the Roach Warren is coming on down. Wouldn't be at all surprised to see a lot of aggression coming out from our Zerg player here. Is Bomber going to be in a position to defend this? But he's got the factory coming on through. But this Roach Warren, with the gas still being mined, this is scary. Is Revival going to be able to do this? Is he going to be able to get in with a nice aggressive Roach play? Of course, King Sejong has quite a wide open ramp. There's no production coming on down. It's just a couple of Marines on the field at the moment. 4 of them valiantly chilling in this bunker. The Roaches, they're about to start flooding on out. 2 of them. Not quite a flood yet. 4 of them. Still not quite a flood. 6, 7. How many is he going to go for? 8 Roaches. All of the gas now expended. Bomber still doesn't know about this. Hasn't sent in anything more yet. Isn't aware this is coming down. It's going to be going for the Banshee. So this will eventually clean up all the Roaches. But everything could be dead before then. These Roaches waddling on forward. Has any of it been seen? No, it hasn't. Bomber isn't aware that this is coming yet. Adding in a couple of Hellions. The wall off at least is completing. The Roaches still making good progress forward. Things getting very, very tense. If this works for Revival, he wins the game. Oh, the Roaches just seen. Bomber may now know what's coming. Immediately falling back. Did these Hellions just buy him the time that he needed? Marines getting pulled on down. The Banshee frantically being produced. A couple of Widow Mines coming in out, just trying to aid in this defense as best as possible. Maulings coming down behind. If Bomber holds, he could very well advance 3-0 into the semi-finals. Revival needs this to work if he's going to stay in this tournament. The SCV's already pulled though. The Roach is trying to take down that bunker, but the repair is so far good. More SCVs being pulled across. Bomber knows that if he holds this, he is in a phenomenally good position. The Widow Mines are now there. A second bunker nearly finished up. Quite a few workers are getting taken down, but the bunker holds. The Widow Mine hits are going to come on down. And with the Banshee about to pop on out, that's going to deal out a lot more damage. Down goes that first bunker. The second one, unfortunately, not yet finished up. But here comes that Banshee, picking away at some of these Roaches. The main is still safe. The natural base may have lost all of its SCVs. But with the Banshee now here, the second one on its way, this is a big problem for Revival, who's still down in the overall work account, not even accounting for the Mules. Bomber is going to be able to hold here. There's a couple of more Lings coming across, but those Widow Mines burrowing up should get a nice hit. Lots of those Lings get taken down. Beautiful times for Bomber. And even though droning is commencing behind this, of course, Bomber in a very, very nice spot at the moment, bringing these Hellions down. Needs to be a bit careful because there are still more Lings on the way, which is a little bit frustrating. But all in all, this Banshee just racking up oh so many kills. The second one out now. In total, resources lost. Bomber did lose quite a few workers, 13 of them, but for 8 Roaches and 56 Zerglings. Revival still came out worse for wear there, and now Bomber is in an amazingly good position. Spore Crawlers having to be built as a bit of an emergency, the lair coming on through. But with Mules now, Bomber, of course, is going to be able to keep that economy looking good. He's already pretty level in terms of the work account. There are a few Zerglings trying to come on through, but a lot of those getting taken out now. They've managed to pick off a single Mule, which is a little bit annoying, but those Lings, they get cleaned up without doing too much damage. That Spore Crawler is taken down without getting cancelled. A couple of drones also going to get killed now, as these Banshees are just going to have an absolute field day, working away at anything that they can. Actually going straight for this hatch, as there isn't actually a Spore Crawler to grant detection. That Widow Mine burrowing up will get a shot off, unfortunately going down there on, obviously, the Overlord, which isn't ideal. A couple of Hellions coming in as well, forcing more Lings out. That's going to be delaying the drone count even further. Not to mention these Banshees still having a great time working away at this hatch. Revival, he is in such a rough spot. He so desperately needs to drone after that Roach Ling play, but he can't afford to. If he does, he'll be risking Obviously, this push overwhelming him, so he's got to make some units. A good transfuse comes down on the Queen, but Bomber, with fantastic control, will pull back the damage Banshee. Another one coming across the map, and a Queen is now taken down. There's still 3 on the field, so the injects aren't getting missed. There's a lot of Lings coming across. And while the Warlock's down, there's still a Widow Mine there. There's still 1 bunker, a fair few Hellions. So these Lings, they can try and get some damage done, but it's only Speedlings. The Banshee are coming on home as well. And, well, this is just looking very, very rough for Revival. He's only on 2 bases. He's going to go and try and take his third. But in terms of the resources lost, 3,000 at only kind of 11 minutes. Bomber is in a very, very nice spot. He's adding in the armory at the front, so he's going to have Hellbats. It also completes his wall off. The Banshee's waiting there. What does Revival do? He needs to try and sneak out as many drones as he possibly can. He's also teching up relatively quickly, getting that Spire down. But getting a Spire out when there's already such an advantage for the Terran player, this is going to be a massive uphill battle. Bomber's also already got his 3rd Orbital Command finished, so even though the 3rd is now on its way for Revival, it's going to be equal bases at best. And with the armory now finished, with a Viking there taking out that Overlord, it's just always getting a little bit more annoying. The Banshees are probably going to be looking to get a bit of damage down, potentially heading towards that 3rd base where there isn't any Spore Crawlers. If the Queens came on over, they'd have a rough time up against those 3 Banshees with Cloak. There isn't an Overseer. Actually, no, there are. I take that back. There's 2 Overseers, so there is an Overseer there, so at least the Cloak wouldn't be absolutely devastating. The 3rd base getting taken. Quite a lot of these Lings coming on back now, but the Hellions still there. A bunker being placed at the front, and these Banshees going to be trying to do as much damage as possible. The Overlord can see them. Where's the Overseer gone? That's actually pulled back a bit. This hatchery taking quite a bit of fire. The Queens can't come on over. There's not enough of them in order to stop 3 Banshee. They're going to have to try, though. That's the problem. There isn't energy for a transfuse either. A 3rd Queen is now coming across as well. One of those Queens instantly taken out. 2nd one taking quite a beating. Trying to just bait back these Queens with the Banshees. One will actually get taken down, but here come the Mutalisks, and that isn't really what Bomber wanted to see. They will be able to shut down at least 1 more of these Banshees. One should be able to hightail it out of there without getting taken down, but all in all, this has allowed the 3rd base for Bomber to get securely taken. It's denied a bit more mining time from Revival's 3rd base. And Bomber is just in a really, really strong spot. And I know I've said that quite a few times, but Revival went for that Roach all-in. That Roachling all-in was seen by a couple of Hellions, and Bomber was able to hold. If Bomber had opened the same that he did in the last 2 games, which was that fast 3rd CC, then yes, Revival probably would have won that game then and there. But Bomber switching it up is now moving across the map. He's up nearly double the army supply of his opponent. There's a couple of Banelings here, a couple of Mutalisks, but there's 31 Marines. The Marauders and Hellbats going to be lining the front. A couple of Widow Mines as well will really help up against these Banelings as they try and move on forward. And Bomber posturing now to try and get a good trade if at all possible. Just slowly picking away. The 1-1 upgrades done on both sides. A few Banelings waddling forward now, trying to get the connections where they can. They get a couple of nice trades there. A lot of those Banelings being kept back. Bomber has now seen those though, so should preemptively start splitting his army. The Widow Mine, if it gets a big hit, would be huge, but it doesn't actually get the hit that it was hoping for. Bomber is going to lose quite a few of those units. Gets a lot of these Mutalisks taken out though, so picking apart these Mutalisks, of course, Medevacs coming on back, healing up these Marines, allowing them to trade against these Mutas, but with the Lings coming across, they will have to pick it up. But look at this trail of blue units coming across the map. And with those units coming across, Revival is forced to make yet more Banelings, 11 of them, but they don't really have any Zergling support, only 19 Lings on the field as a whole, and Bomber pushing on forward now. He's going for the Evo Chambers first. He doesn't want any more upgrades. We'll just pick up, boost away, getting some guaranteed damage, waiting for more reinforcements. He's taking a 4th command center. While this is all going on, he's adding in more production. His macro is right on point. And that's the problem. If we look at the worker count, yes, Revival is up to 70 drones, which is fully saturating these 3 bases. But he's having to just pump all of it into trying to hold on and not die at the moment. And at the same time, Bomber is just sitting here. He's trading more cost efficiently. And he's just got a massive, massive force. He's got a whole ton of medevacs. He's up at 101 army supply to 64 of Revival. Revival, he's just got to take an amazing trade. He's got to get incredible Baneling hits. And remember, if Revival doesn't win this game, Bomber will advance into the semi-finals. So Bomber is pushing across the map now to eliminate Revival out of Intel Extreme Masters San Jose. He's going very, very strong at the moment and pushing forward. Trying to get a couple of good hits. Is able to take down a small group of that infantry. The 4th hatchery is not going to get taken. The Baneling desperately trying to roll away. A few Morphing Banelings getting caught, and just these little pickoffs are always going to be frustrating. There's only going to be 21 Banelings. It is. And Bomber's just spread so nicely. He's up at 180 supply. Revival now trying to come in here. This pre-splitting from Bomber, though, is absolutely amazing, preventing those Banelings from really getting any connections. The Mutalisks doing everything that they can, but there's only 9 up against 45 Marines. They're quickly melting, and it looks as though Bomber is going to get the GG. He is able to advance 3-0 over Revival. Bomber now going to be facing off against Rain in the semi-final match. That's going to be on main stage. But congratulations to Bomber. A clean 3-0 victory there versus Revival. Very nicely done by him. That, of course, does mean the end of the B Streams broadcast for Intel Extreme Masters San Jose. Thank you very much for tuning in. It has been a pleasure casting for all of you. The main stream will be carrying on with the rest of the event. They've got another quarterfinal as well as both semifinals and the finals tonight, so go and check those out. And of course, before we go, big shout out to our sponsors here at Intel Extreme Masters: Intel, Roccat, Gigabyte, HyperX, and BenQ, as well as Blizzard. So thank you very, very much for tuning into the B Stream. I'm Maddles. It's been a pleasure casting for you. And I'll see you all in the Twitch chat at the main stream for the semifinals and finals. Catch you there, and bye for now.